have this opportunity to get right back after it. How do you work past what had to be a disappointment this past Saturday?
Well, you just got to line up and get ready to go. That's the mentality of a college football player, of a high school football player, and an NFL player. I mean, we all know it's a long season, and you can't let a team beat you twice. So you come back, you learn from it, you watch the video, make the corrections, and put it away and move on to the next one. I mean, obviously there's all kinds of thoughts that go through. We're human. There's thoughts that goes through our mind, but if we sit there and dwell on it, then it's not going to help us beat UMass.
How do you feel at this stage of the season the line has played?
I think they're progressing, not to the best of their abilities yet, but I think they're progressing to where they need to go to. I think the physicality is coming around. I think the communication is getting better, and they're starting to gel together as a group.
Coach, it really like something clicked for you guys in the second half. Just kind of what was the key? Any adjustments, or just guys doing their job?
I think guys just doing their job and hanging down on the down lineman a little longer to give us a chance to get to the second level. Their backers were plugging pretty hard there in the beginning, and we were coming thin on some things early, and then once we stayed thick on the downs and just kept pushing them. I think after a while we warmed down a little bit, to be quite honest with you. I mean, when you got a back like John Kelly and you don't want to go out there and push people around, that's I got to check the pulse, to be honest with you. I mean, those guys know who they got back there. So, they know if they just hit their landmarks, run their feet, play with pad level, they got a chance to have, a great game in a run game.
And you kind of answered my next question, but just the way John runs, the way he plays, does that, if you're a lineman, does that kind of, I don't know if shame you is the right word, but motivate you to really get that?
When you know a guy's going to make you look good, it's like I told him yesterday in the meeting, guys, you guys should be chomping at the bits to come in every day to get better and better and better, because you know that guy's going to make you look good. You know it. And if you put a body on a body and string through the whistle, he's going to make things happen because he runs so hard. And he's a really good football player, but he's a good person too, because he comes in, talks to the line yesterday, thanks them, talks to them for a few minutes, and it's those type things that behind the scenes people don't know about John. He loves football.
What can you say about Trey through 3 games now of what looks like a pretty promising career?
Yeah, I mean, Trey's is coming around. He's learning. He came out and played well against Georgia Tech, and then came back against Indiana State and learned that college football is an every day, every hour moment, and that you have to keep working your craft, and you can't let up even against certain teams, because if you do, they'll embarrass you, because it is college football and everybody is a better player than they probably, one of the best players on their high school team, whether it's at FCS or whether it's FBS, it doesn't matter. They were a good football player. And so he learned that week 2, and week 3 he came out and played with what we thought was one of the better 3 techniques we've seen, and he did a nice job against them.
How would you kind of evaluate Drew's first 2 games of the season thus far? Obviously, he missed the Tech game,
right,
and missed those crucial opportunities. The last 2 weeks, how would you kind of evaluate?
I think we always talk about week 1 to week 2 improvement as a football team and as a player. And of course, Drew's week 1 was against Indiana State, and I think Drew will tell you himself it wasn't up to what his standards are. And I think last week he came in and with a different focus and with a different mindset, and understood kind of the same thing Trey went through, and that he came out and played better this week than he has, and I thought his progression will continue as he continues to get the reps out there.
3 games in with Jay Sean at center, do you like what you're seeing from him? It looked like he really helped spring John on
Jay Sean provides a great balance and strength in the middle, and he understands the game well, and so with that, yes, I am. His snap accuracy has been good. It hasn't been great. It's got to continue to improve. We cannot have any more high and away snaps. He only had 3, I think, in the last ball game, which is an improvement. And so we got to continue to rep that and get better at that. But he's comfortable. He's settling in there. He's making all the calls. He's leading the room. And he's playing really well right now.
It seems like Dormady hasn't felt too much pressure, has had quite a bit amount of time. How would you assess your line's ability to give him that time?
Well, I think, that comes back to the receivers running the right routes, getting open. It comes back to Quentin reading the coverage and getting the ball out of his hands. All those things play hand in hand. And so, I think the guys up front are doing their job to an extent, but we've got to improve. We're having too many hits on him as he's getting rid of the ball. We've got to make sure that, they don't go down as a sack on the stats, but in my mind they go down as a sack. If they affect the throw, they affect the throw. Sometimes a batted ball is just as good as a sack. So we've got to continue to improve in that area, but I think they've made some steps in the right direction.
Did you expect some hiccups in that area because of the time those guys had missed during camp, or were you a little bit surprised to see that many hits?
I think, the camp thing, it is what it is. Sometimes it just comes down to winning your one-on-one battle. You got to be consistent in your performance, and they've got a toolbox that they got to go to and use when certain looks that the team gives you, certain things. We go through everything that they can do, and they've got to continue to play at that speed on game day. And sometimes, they win the battle, to be quite honest with you. And we got to eliminate those battles and eliminate those hits on him. One hit is too many for us. That's the way we look at it. And so we've got to continue to improve in that area. But I think there has been some progression as we've moved on here. And obviously that was the best front we've played to date. No disrespect to anybody else, but that was the best front we've played to date. And their athletic ability that group's going to continue to get better and better, in my opinion.
Jack Jones is obviously the starting left guard, but Venzel must have shown you something in practice to kind of earn some real snaps both the last 2 weeks. What has he done to kind of earn some playing time?
Well, Venzel's just come to work every day. Venzel understands the game. He's really improved in his knowledge of the position and of the overall position, and he cares about the success of us up front, not just himself. And so he works hard every day. He's got good strength, and he understands the game. So we've got to continue to develop him and get him reps and get him going in that direction.
What was the message to some of the guys about some of the sloppiness down there in short yardage in those situations? I'm sure the guys know it more than anyone else, but just what was the message to them about cleaning that up?
It just comes down to communication and not burying your head in the sand, so to speak. I mean, they're a zero blitz team. You got to be ready for it. You got to expect the unexpected when you're inside the 5, because teams are going to come out and play different defenses. They're going to run different blitzes. They're going to do different things that they don't do in the middle of the field. But the true character of a defensive coordinator usually reveals himself in the red zone. And so we've got to have a better understanding of that. I've got to do a better job of putting them in those situations and making sure they understand them. And it's not just them, it's me, it's everybody. And we've got to continue to build on that success or failure that we had, but create success in that so that we can be better in the red zone and on the goal line specifically.
Apologize if it's been asked, Coach. I was down the other end, but how do you feel like Trey Smith's played through 3 games?
I think he's progressing. He's playing well. Trey's a physical player, and sometimes it sounds bad to say, but he gets so locked into one thing when he's got to do 2 things in that job, and he forgets about the second thing, and that's being a young player. And we made those corrections, and he continues to make the corrections in game time, which helps. I mean, he had some early issues in the game on some run-through stuff. He was blowing up the guy, and he forgot about the backer, to be quite honest with you. And we corrected him, and he corrected him, and that's what's most important. And so he is playing well for a young man that's seen a lot of different things. His first SEC game, a lot of different talents. First game, a lot of blitzing going on. Second game, a lot of movement up front. He's communicating well. He's developing into a comfort zone, I think, with the guys and working with Brett on the right side and working with Jay Sean at center. And I think between the 3 of those guys, they are really communicating well when we run to the right and do things to the right.
Seemed like he brought a lot of energy on the field during the Georgia Tech game in particular, and maybe some since then too. Has he kind of injected some life into that group? Or
he loves football. He loves to compete, and to be honest with you, he loves Tennessee. And so when he told me before the game, he's always dreamed about what it'd be like to play at Florida Field. And so we fix find out, and he enjoys what he's doing. He really does. And he's not he's not one of those guys that moans and groans and complains. He just comes out to work every day. He has fun with it. I'm sure he's a normal person. He's going to have his down days like anybody does, but he really likes to play the game, which does inject some energy. I mean, some of those guys are old. They've played some veteran snaps, and they've been to Florida Field. They've been to this. They've been to that, and he brings that newness to them, and I think it sparks some energy to them too.
Time for one more. Coach, talk about your communication with Coach Scott within the game. Say you're in a short yardage situation, you feel like the line can blow them off the ball. I know Coach Scott knows football too, but how much are you guys talking to say, hey, we can get you this this yard or two in the run game or whatever other situation?
Oh yeah, I mean Larry knows what we're capable of doing. I mean he doesn't have to have me tell him. Larry's an old offensive lineman. I mean he understands what's going on. We talk, every series, every break. We talk throughout the whole game. Him and Coach Canales and Coach Jones and everybody's involved. So Larry understands what we can and cannot do, and and he just went with what he felt like was going to work. I mean, obviously we didn't call any plays to not be successful, and so we have total trust in Larry, and he does a great job of putting the run game together, putting the pass game together, putting our screen game together, which is really working well. And so we talk throughout the game. There's no issues at all there.
Have you guys gotten better as you've gone on in games? It seems like John's been more effective in the run game. Have you guys seen that?
Well, I think a run game. When I first worked for Roy Kidd, he used to tell us, and if y'all don't know who Roy Kidd is, you got to look him up. He used to tell us, run games like Novocaine, just give it time, it's going to work. Because, I mean, everybody's fired up the first quarter, the first drive, the first series, everything like that. And as you pound on people, somebody's going to give. It's either going to be us or it's going to be them, And, our mindset's got to be it's going to be them. And we got to continue to pound on them. And the way John runs, it continues to help us pound on them. Because the first guy's not going to tackle him, whether it's on level 2 or level 3. He's not going to tackle him. So we feel like we're going to get extra yardage every time we get him to level 2, then he's going to get himself to level 3.
All right, thanks everybody.